Hi, my name is Conor Hickey. I'm Lead Solution Architect here at Dealflo. One of the common questions we're asked is which internal stakeholders to involve in the project definition process. And what we'll do today is explain what the project definition process is, where it takes place in the overall project. We'll look at the objectives of that particular process, the output from the process. We'll look at the format of any sessions, and also we'll look at the attendees who should attend any of those sessions. So if I start out with just a project timeline, just to show you where this process takes place. So if I split this into sales and delivery, and the dotted line representing contracts signed between client and Dealflo. The project definition process really happens here, towards the end of the sales process. So the client has expressed an interest in the Dealflo solution, and the main part of the project definition process is a workshop held between Dealflo and client called our project definition workshop, and that would happen here. Now, as you can see, it's just to give you the context, it is happening prior to contracts being signed, so it's still part of the sales and negotiation process. But what are the main objectives of that workshop? First of all, Dealflo wants to help the client to understand what Dealflo is, what the Dealflo offering is, what is the differentiators between Dealflo and possible competition, and what makes Dealflo, as we see, the best of breed for contract automation in the business today. But also on top of that, Dealflo wants to help the client to understand what the end solution would look like. So the workshop part of that session is all geared towards defining at a high level the scope of that solution. So if you are to embark on a contract automation with Dealflo, what will the end solution look like when you go live? Also, Dealflo will give you representative costs for any professional services that it would take to get from A to B to go live. So there are the objectives of the session. Now, what's the format of that session? Well, if we talk about it in three parts, we would start with a presentation by Dealflo to make sure that all attendees, all stakeholders, have a thorough understanding of Dealflo, the Dealflo proposition, and the contract enforceability that is the USP of the Dealflo solution. So a presentation to the group. We would follow that by something a little bit more tangible, which a set of appropriate demonstrations of the product. So people can now understand how do you move from the theory explained in the first part to the practical. What would it look like in situ for a particular client's use case? And then we follow that with a workshop session. And I think this is where which stakeholders should attend become very important. So we've talked about the objective and the format being a presentation, demonstration, and then workshop. Now, what's the output before we speak briefly about the attendees? What's the output from this session? Well, Dealflo is going to produce a project definition document, which will be returned back to the client. And that project definition document outlines at a high level the scope of the solution as agreed within the workshop. So we're replaying back things like your existing process, how your existing process would change to a 2B, fully digitally automated process, what your particular workflows or signing ceremonies might look like, and at a high level detail that full solution. But also interestingly, we'll put the professional services cost associated with that scope in the return project definition document. So really to look at the stakeholders now, who should attend this workshop. Well, remembering that this is taking place prior to contracts being signed, we would need to have business sponsors and the people who are making the decision whether Dealflo is the appropriate platform or solution to purchase. So there's, in the context of where it is in the process, business sponsors, decision makers are required to attend the session. Now, beyond that, you would have people who would be involved in the delivery. So you might want to consider having project management, members of PMO, technical people, maybe some technical architects, so that we can explain how the integration might happen. Because any questions that might arise within the client, we would try to, or we would hope to answer them within this project definition session, within this workshop. So we can extend that to who are the other people who might have questions. Well, obviously legal. You would want legal representation, because legal will have questions about what makes the Dealflo platform or a contract signed on the Dealflo platform legally enforceable. So obviously they have a keen interest in this session. Risk and compliance. Obviously, there's a lot of business going to potentially go through the Dealflo platform. How does the Dealflo platform address risk, or how could the solution be configured to address risk? And how do we make sure that all signing ceremonies are compliant? Because one of the advantages of the Dealflo platform is that all workflows can be mandated as compliant. Beyond that, the people who are going to use the system, so representation from operations, maybe customer service, maybe a payouts team, all have a vested interest in this solution and should have some representation. I think finally, sales, because obviously this is the client is usually selling a product. There's a business case behind introducing something like electronic contracting. So how does the business case stack up? We're here to help a client increase sales of their financial products. So that's a quick summary of what the project definition process is, where it takes place, what the objectives are, the format of the session, the output of that session, and finally, who are the stakeholders that should attend. So that's a summary of the project definition process. We looked at where this takes place in the context of the overall project, what the objectives of the session are, the format of the session, what the output of the session was, and finally, to answer the specific question, who the stakeholders or attendees to the session should be. I hope that's answered all your questions. Thanks very much.